This is J. Krishnamurti's second public talk in Madras, 1969-1970.
I think we said that would go on from where we left off last time that we met here. We were talking about order and security. Before we go into it, I think it is necessary that we understand certain things. Verbally, it's fairly easy to convey certain things. But if it is merely understood at the verbal level, then actually no action can take place. And most of us live in a world of formulas, theories, ideas, and concepts, which are all verbal structure. And we conform to that pattern. But what we are talking about is not mere verbal understanding, which is really an intellectual understanding, a verbal understanding, understanding of ideas, concepts, thoughts, opinions. But we are much more concerned with the quality of a mind that acts instantly upon seeing. That is, perception is action. It is not seeing first, understanding, and then acting, but the very action is the product of understanding, instantly. So there is no division between the idea and the action, as we have generally. But what we are talking about is the action that comes with the seeing through the microscope. We went into that the other day, looking through the microscope. There is no your microscope or the speaker's microscope, which means your opinion as opposed to the opinion of another. We are both of us looking through an instrument of great precision. And what we see must correspond, be tested by each one. And therefore there is no acceptance or denial in which is involved every form of authority. Please, let's be very clear on this point. We are looking at facts, not opinions. we are looking at what is, and not what we think what is, or looking at our evaluation of what is, our judgment or comparison or rejection, but observing actually what is going on. And to observe, as we said the other day, freedom is necessary. Like any good scientist, he leaves all his prejudices, even his hypothesis behind at home. But he is observing as a scientist through the microscope to see what is actually going on. And if we can, that's what we're going to do. And therefore, we reject altogether the question of temperament, character, individual opinion, and judgment. That's a great step to take. Because, as we said, individuality, the individual is an entity who is indivisible. He is whole. And the word whole means healthy. And the word whole also means holy, H-O-L-Y. Whole implies health and that quality of a mind that is holy. And an individual is not that. On the contrary, an individual now, as he is broken up, fragmented, in contradiction, opposing desires, opposing wills, and so on and on. So when we are looking through a microscope to see things clearly, exactly what is, you are bringing in your particular attitudes, evaluations, opinions, judgments, comparative assertions have no place at all, which is not intolerance. Because if we are looking through a microscope, we must see, both of us, exactly what is through the microscope. And if the microscope is not focused properly, you don't see it properly. And another thing is important. We're not going to consider order and security. One wonders often how one listens. What is the actual state of the mind or the heart that listens? How do you listen? Do you ever listen to anything? Completely, not partially. We all listen partially, inattentively, casually. But to listen is quite a different matter. Therefore, we must be very clear what we mean by listening. we must not only hear the same word, the meaning of that same word, the quality behind that word, the passion, the intensity, the drive behind that word. We must meet at the same level, at the same time, otherwise you can't listen. Right? But for most of us, listening is an interpretation. Is a translation of what you are hearing. A response to the word. The response being being the experience, the memory, the accumulated reservoir of your conditioning which responds. So when that takes place, you actually are not listening. Please, again, this is rather important to understand. Because communication means, as we said, working together, sharing together, listening together. And to listen together, we must catch the same tonality and the meaning of that word, the tone of it, the quality of it, the meaning of it, which means you must go behind the word. So that you and I, the speaker, hear the same thing. Therefore, we must be extraordinarily sensitive to words. Now, if the speaker is using certain word and you translate that word into a particular language which is based on Sanskrit, then that word which the speaker has used is already associated with words which have innumerable other meanings. I don't know if you're following this. Therefore, you're already gone off. You're already off the beam. That jet plane went over us. How did you hear it? Do please, this is a very serious question. How did you hear it? With a resistance? With an annoyance? With a disturbance? Or were you listening to the sound? Listening, and therefore no resistance. So, when we are talking about order and security, we are both of us communicating with each other. You're not merely hearing what the speaker is saying, to his ideas, to his verbalization of certain facts which he sees, but together we are seeing, listening, working, creating together. Therefore we are sharing together. That the word, the meaning of that word communicate means that actually in the dictionary. Partaking, sharing. Therefore, there is no authority. Though the speaker may sit on the platform, which is for convenience only, he has no authority. Yep, right? He has no status. Therefore, there is no teacher and the taught. Then there is a division. That division between you and the speaker, in that division, there is opinion, judgment, evaluation, condemnation, agreement, and all the rest of it. But if you are, both of us are sharing, both of us are listening, then there is no speaker and the listener, the teacher and the taught. Both of us are learning. And therefore the division disappears and so conflict. Is this somewhat clear? Is the speaker making himself a little clearer? We must have clarity. We must have a very good, clean mind, not befuddled mind, not a confused mind that has 1,000 problems, mind that is cluttered up with 1,000 memories. A mind that observes and therefore very sensitive and clear. Mind being not the intellect alone, but the whole structure of thought, feeling, and the physical organism together, the whole of it. Therefore, the mind that is extraordinarily healthy because we are going to concern ourselves with this question of order and security, which we touched upon last time that we came together here. The brain needs complete security, otherwise it can't function efficiently. Any sense of insecurity brings about conflict. And various forms of distortion. And We are concerned, as we said, with total revolution. Not one segment of a revolution, economic, political, separated from the religious and so on. We are concerned with the whole structure of the human mind, behavior, and action. We are concerned with the mutation, total revolution of the whole being. And this mutation can take place only, not change. Change implies something from one thing to another of which you know already. Right? Change implies from this to that you already know. We are talking of a mutation which is not what you already have conceived or what you already want or desire. So we must inquire into the very structure of the mind, which is the brain, and see if that brain, which is so heavily conditioned by millions of years, can that brain transform, mutate, bring about a complete revolution in itself, not evolution. You understand? There is a difference between evolution and revolution. Evolution is a gradual process. I'm not preaching communism. We are talking about something which is everyday occurrence. Evolution implies time. Please do listen to this little bit. Listen. Not merely hear a set of words or capture a certain idea, but listen with your mind, with your brain, with your heart, with your body and nerves, ears. Completely listen to find out. Because we're going to learn. You're not going to be taught. We are learning together. Walking on the same road, at the same speed, with the same intensity. The brain cells, one can observe it in oneself, the speaker is not repeating what he has read in books. I don't read books. This is not an assertion of vanity. On the contrary, it is a statement of great humility. By observing oneself, one can see this phenomenon going on. How the brain cells are conditioned and how they have been conditioned through millennia, through thousands of experiences, through various forms of culture, civilizations. And it is essentially, its structure is essentially based on security. And it must have security. Otherwise it can't function like a highly precise machine. And the brain has sought security in different forms. It has sought security in belief. That's why we all believe in God or in a perfect state or in a marvelous utopia and so on and on and on. In belief. In tradition. When that belief or that tradition is questioned, there is resistance. Because you are attacking at the very root of its security. Please do it as we are speaking. Don't just listen to a lot of words that have no meaning, but do it. Look at yourself as we are going along. Then it is fun, then you can learn. And where there is security in things that it considers secure, and that security is questioned, that belief is questioned, then there is fear, and therefore there is resistance. If you are a Hindu or a Muslim or whatever you like, a communist, you're bound to resist. Because you have taken shelter in that. If your structure of the family or the social structure of morality is questioned, you resist. Don't you? You consider social morality perfectly all right. Because it's highly respectable. And in that morality, the brain has taken security in a structure which it considers is moral. But that structure is utterly immoral. Social morality is no morality at all. So when you question that morality, because thought, the brain has taken security in it, you resist, and in resistance you divide, and conflict begins. Right? Are you following all this? Isn't it terribly hot? So we say, one observes that any security, safety, protection, feeling of safety that thought has created and taken shelter in must inevitably create disorder. Right? If the speaker takes security in the idea of nationality, listen to this carefully, in the idea of nationality, and in that he feels safe. And you, with your nationality, have your safety. Therefore, there is division between nationalities. Therefore, conflict. Therefore, war. Right? Not only nationality, economic structure, and so on, so on, so on. So, wherever thought takes shelter in and finds security in that it will inevitably bring about disorder. You take security in a family, don't you? don't you? My family, my house, my children. And what has that done in the world? Your family and my family. My family opposed to the community, and so on, division. And observe, in the family itself there is division. The husband and the wife and the children. The husband with his ambitions, greeds, envies, boredom, sexual pleasures and all the rest of it, and the wife with hers. So, the unit which is called the family, which is supposed to be a unit, is broken up in itself. And in that division, thought has taken shelter. And therefore, there is a resistance, there is division between the wife and the husband, the children, and all the rest of it. And that brings about disorder. Are you getting all this? Are we communicating with each other? Or are we going to sleep? Unless you observe this in yourself, actually in yourself, you won't get the beauty of this. So then what is order? We see how security has been brought about by the desire not to be hurt. Not to be hurt. And therefore resistance. The resistance takes many, many, many forms. Belief, family, ideals, theories, belief in God or belief in non-God, and so on, so on. Because if there is no security, the brain can't function clearly. Though, when you examine what the shelter it has taken in is illusory, yet it clings to it because that's the only thing it knows. And in observing that, one discovers what is order. Right? Order means response, complete, total response. We're going to go into it. Doesn't it mean that? Probably not to you. We'll go into it. Order, that is, mathematical order, is only possible when we understand what is disorder. The positive, which is order, can only happen through the negation of disorder. Right? Do you understand, sir? Isn't it disorder when the world is divided into nationalities, religious sects, different groups with their ideologies, different groups of gurus with their pupils, with their ashramas, which are really concentration camps, and so on and on and on and on. Divisions. Division implies resistance, and therefore confusion, therefore disorder. You getting this? So, in not putting aside disorder caused by division, you will never find out what is order. Because order is a living thing. And as we said, order is right and total response to any challenge. And that response to the challenge, adequate response to the challenge is not possible if we do not understand disorder. Right? Are we coming with it? Huh? Are we meeting each other? Even at least verbally? Because to us, order means discipline. And the very structure of discipline as you have cultivated from thousands is disorder. I'll show you. Go into it. You will see it. Don't accept it. You will see it. The word discipline means to learn. See the difference. Not to conform. Not to accept. Not to obey. Not to imitate. Not to practice. But to learn. Because the learning itself demands order. Right? To learn a language, you must give certain attention to it. That very attention brings order in the mind so that you can learn. Right? So, order means not the order that is categorical, that is fixed, immovable, blueprint, and a principle, having a principle, an objective, an end, you think will give you order. On the contrary, it will give you disorder. Because, need I explain it? Oh Lord. See what has happened. Life as we live, that everyday life as we live, has no meaning whatsoever. Right? Going to the office for 40, 50 years, earning a little livelihood, coming back home, quarreling, sex, and all the rest of it. What? It has no meaning. So, life have no, in itself, as we live, having no meaning, we want an end, a purpose, a goal. The more wonderful it is, the better it is. The more noble and spiritual and garlanded, it's more perfect. That is, the fact is one thing, the what is one thing, and the goal is another. And you have taken shelter in the goal because you don't understand living, which is what is. So there is a division between what is and what might be. So there is conflict. Therefore there is disorder. Right? So when you see that, They see the truth of it. That is order. So the seeing the truth of it is the response to any challenge. Right? Because when you see something very clearly, you will respond totally, as you do when you see a danger. A physical danger, you respond instantly. And the instant response is order. You're getting the beauty of it? Oh no. So, order means responsibility. Right? Not duty. That is, responsibility means to respond totally. And you cannot respond totally, wholly to any challenge if there is a division between you and the thing in which you have taken shelter. Right? So, order is the basis, the root of security. Right? Not disorder. So, morality is order. Not developed gradually, but acting, which is seeing and understanding what is disorder. Are you getting it? You know, order means love. You know what that means, that word? If you care for something, you have order. When you plant a tree in the garden, I hope you have, digging deeply, removing the rocks, putting mulch, fresh manure in it, plant it and take care of it, look after it, water it, protect it. That is order. And which is virtue, therefore love. Therefore, responsibility means something entirely different. Our present responsibility is based on pleasure. No. My family. I am responsible for my family. Are you? Which is my family, which gives me pleasure, sexually, comfort, and all the rest of it, the woman or the man. So the responsibility, which has become our morality, is based on pleasure. And can you stand all this? I'm surprised you don't throw stones at the speaker. So, we are saying order is complete security. And therefore, no effort at all. You understand? No. All right, you don't. You know, we spend our life from the moment we are born till we die making effort, struggle. Our life is a battlefield, a tremendous fight, great misery, great sorrow, loneliness, despair, guilt, violence, brutality. That's our life. And in that mess, in that confusion, we're trying to find order. And we spend our life, if one observes every day, in great conflict, minor or major, but it's always conflict, a contradiction between two wants, between two purposes, two urgencies, two appetites, two obediences, the bodily obedience and the spiritual obedience. So where there is this division, which is what we call life, the living, to which we say is the most marvelous thing, in that there is constant conflict, and which is the very essence of disorder. Conflict is disorder, because it wastes energy. And we need tremendous energy to live in order. Therefore, we have to understand non-verbally how this effort, contradiction comes, which is disorder. We have to understand it. We have to understand something, sir, you must love it. You must say, for goodness sake, get rid of it so that I can be perfectly orderly. To understand something, you must look very closely. And to look closely, intimately, you must love it. You must have passion behind it. Not just kind of intellectual curiosity or sentimental emotionalism. So, what is this contradiction? What is this conflict? Please, sirs, do observe it in yourself. The speaker is only a mirror. Either you see in that mirror clearly yourself, or it's a broken mirror in which you see fragments of yourself. It depends how you look. Not at the speaker, but at yourself. And the speaker is yourself. You understand? Oh Lord. Don't make it in something spiritual. Because what the speaker is saying, indicating, observing, is what you are observing. The speaker is not different. Therefore, what you observe is much more important than the speaker. The speaker has no importance whatsoever. What has importance, what has value, significance, is how you look at yourself. And you can look at yourself very clearly, in a most subtle way and most beautifully, without rejecting and resisting, if you use the speaker as a mirror. And after using the mirror, you can throw the mirror away. You understand? Throw the mirror away. Don't keep it. Because the mirror breaks very quickly. Right. Why is it that in us there is this contradiction? The opposing desires, the endless corridor of opposites in us. Why? How has it come? Why this contradiction? Why aren't we whole, healthy, holy, marvelous human beings? Why? What have we done with our life? Not the future life, this life. We have it. And as one observes, our life is a turmoil, confusion, misery, sorrow, conflict. So we'll put all that into one word, conflict, right? Why? Why must we live in conflict? In violence. I wonder what would be your answer if you really put that question to yourself. Why am I in conflict? Why is there division, duality? Not only, which is inevitable, between you and me, because you're a man and a woman, you're taller, I mean, so on, so on, but inwardly. Psychologically, psychosomatically. Why? Please, this is really a very important question. Because if you understand this basically, deeply, with all your heart, you will be out of it. So that you will never again have a struggle, conflict. You will be a whole man, not fragmented man. So we are asking why. How does this happen? Are you waiting for the speaker to answer? Find out. Are you waiting? Or are you observing, asking yourself? Because we are learning together. You're not being taught. There is no teacher here, no authority to tell you what to think and what to do. We are learning together. Therefore, you are as much actively responsible. Responsible means responding. So why? You know, we are fragmented human beings. Scientists, professors, bureaucrats, technocrats, engineers, outwardly and inwardly. Oh, we are broken up into 1,000 fragments. Why? Shall we learn together, or are you merely waiting for an answer? To understand this question, we must understand the nature of thought. What is thinking? Because thought has brought this about. Please do listen to this. Thought has brought this about. Between pleasure and fear and pain. Right? So I must understand the structure and the nature of thought. Then probably I'll answer that question. There will be an answer to that question. Why there is this division? What is thinking? Don't repeat what the speaker has said. Find out. What is thinking? Now look, I'm asking you this question. What is thinking? What is your response? Is your response based on what you have learned or taught by another, and therefore repeating and therefore utterly valueless? Therefore your response is inadequate, and therefore your response will inevitably create confusion. So you have to find out how you are going to respond to this question. Why this division? And we tentatively suggested it is thought. And another question is put. What is thinking? And you have to answer it adequately so that that very question brings order. Right? The very questioning and learning is the order. What is thinking? And thinking is related to the past. The past is the operation through thought in the present. Right? You meeting? Thought is the function of the past in the present. See it? I see it too. I'm learning. The past, your past, the past, not your particular past, but man's past, of which you are. You are the result of thousands and millions of years. The cultures, the human struggle, the human endeavor, the race, all that is the past. Past hidden in the unconscious or the conscious. I won't divide it for the moment. In consciousness. Right? So the past is the instrument of thought, is thought. And past, flowing through the present, modifies and moves into the future. So time is the essence of disorder. Let's show you. Thought, we said, is the movement of the past. Otherwise you can't think. If there is no past, you can't think at all. If you are asked where you live, there is instant response because you are very familiar. There is no thinking interval. But when you are asked a little more complex question, there is a thinking interval. Right? You're looking, you're asking, you're searching for an answer. That time interval is the process of thinking and the response. So thought and past is absolutely necessary to thought. So technologically, as a technocrat, you must have knowledge of the past, or as an engineer, or as a scientist. But one observes it is necessary there to function beautifully, efficiently, completely. And also one observes the danger of thought, which divides, which is past, operating in the present, modifying the present, and moving to the future. That is the process of time, process of the past. And when thought operates, it must inevitably divide. Therefore contradiction, therefore struggle. Right? Because if you are living in the past, as all do, that's our whole life, our memories, our associations, our remembrances, is all the past. Living in the past, experience, knowledge and all that, that very past must divide as the future, as the present. And so thought is in its very nature divides, separates, brings about contradiction. One thought opposing another thought, born out of the same or different memories. So one finds that thought is necessary in a certain direction, and in another direction it becomes destructive. So to be able to see the efficiency of thought in function as scientist, bureaucrat and so on, but the inefficiency of thought when it divides. So thought is disorder. Are you getting all this? So, thought will inevitably divide. And thought is a slave to the verb to be. And all our culture, religious and otherwise, all our culture is conditioned by that verb to be. I have been, I am, I will be. The verb to be is the slave of time. And all our thinking is that. I will be good someday. I will be less violent. That's why you have ideals. You are violent, brutal, and you have the ideal of non-violence and kindliness. Therefore, your mind is slave to the verb and to the word to be. Now to find out, to live without that word. You're following all this? That demands a choiceless awareness. You use the word to be, but behind the word, there is no time element at all. Therefore, one has to understand the past, the self, which is the past, and the statement I am is related to the past. Or I am that, higher or something nobler, I am that. The very statement is the past. And therefore division. And the identifying of the I am with something greater, God, nation, marvelous utopia, is still the slavery of the word to be, and therefore division. Got it? So, one spends one's life in this world being conditioned by words, by environment, by propaganda. All religions are propaganda. Isn't it? Aren't they? You have been told from boyhood, childhood, you are a Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, Catholic, communist, socialist, you follow? Repeat, repeat, repeat. And at the end of it, you say, I'm a Jesuit, or a Catholic, or a Hindu. And with all the practices, superstitions, ideals, beliefs. The temples, the mosques, the churches. So religions, as they are, organized or non-organized, are the instruments of propaganda. And you are the result of that propaganda. Which means you are just words. You understand, sir, what is being said? When you say I am, what is that I am? Can you ever say I am? Because it's a living thing. You understand, the I am if there is, when you say I am, you mean it is a living movement, it's life. You can never say I am. It's only the dead thing that can say I am. The past, which is dead, can say I am God. But a living thing can never assert ever what it is. And therein lies humility. So thought divides, and division is resistance, and resistance is disorder. When you understand that, with your heart, feel it, see the truth of it, then out of that comes order. Order is responsibility, which is to respond adequately, completely. Therefore, a life of order means a life of virtue. You can't live without order. And order is virtue, which cannot be cultivated. You cannot cultivate humility. You can cultivate pride. And that gives pleasure. But as humility cannot be cultivated, it is a state of mind that's learning, that has no pedestal from which it learns. And to learn means no resistance whatsoever. Therefore, in that there is no I am. A thing that is moving, living, has vitality, that has great sensitivity and the sense of love, can never say I am. And out of that comes order. And this is the basis, the foundation for a movement that can go without end. But one must have this order. This is the foundation. Then we can go from there to find out what love is, what death is. And you will find that love and death go together. And you'll find, if you're learning, that love is not pleasure, desire. And love is something that is totally of a different dimension, which can operate in the world. And without order, without understanding disorder, the reality of complete security in order, you will never find out or learn what love is. And without love, you'll never come upon that extraordinary thing which is timeless.